welcome to the Sales Pro Podcast with Jonam and Miles Emmanuel.
Greetings. This is episode 2, and since the purpose of this podcast is to help everyone to become more of a sales pro, the best sales pro you can be, we will be very remiss if we did not mention why people don't sell. So, Miles, what's the first reason why people don't sell?
Because they're scared.
You wanted to say wusses, didn't you?
Well, I mean, there was a far stronger word that I would like to use. But we'll go with wusses, yes, indeed. But it's the fear of rejection.
Right.
No one wants to be rejected at all. It's not a great feeling. You know, it's a whole
I wouldn't know,
really,
I've never been rejected, but
of course,
I'll take your word for it.
Your sunshine and puppy dog's tails.
Mm-hmm. Moving on. So yeah, fear of rejection and also fear of ridicule, they kind of go hand in hand, don't they? And people have this, it's a natural inbuilt fear, isn't it?
Yes.
It's well documented, you know, everyone talks about how this, you know, the instinct from however many thousand years ago,
cave,
where, you know, rejection meant death or being hit around the head with stones and, you know, standard Saturday night for some people in London, but in general, bad thing. And so this fear of rejection, this fear of ridicule, or that, you know, that little voice inside your mind sometimes, I advise you turn it down if there's a volume knob attached, but the voice says, oh no, you can't do that, you can't approach that person.
Why are you even trying to succeed in your life? Just stay
put.
Yeah.
It's far more comfortable. Well, it's not comfortable actually.
But it's what you know.
Yeah.
Because the unknown is scary and we don't want to go in the unknown.
Better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Absolutely.
And all these other such things. You know, that fear is something that we obey without questioning sometimes until we learn not to. Later on, we will give you some solutions to these problems.
Yes. But let's just keep flying through what these other ones. And another one is why people don't want to sell is not wanting it enough.
Yeah.
You know, being lazy.
Right. It's the, you know, I could do this, I could make the phone calls, I could do that Facebook Live, but Family Guy's on and I'm comfortable. But these YouTube cat videos are so adorable.
Yes, just keep getting that dopamine. Just lap it up.
Right. It's that being stuck in that rut of instant gratification and not wanting what you allegedly want enough to actually leave your comfort zone, enough to actually go for it. So that's reason number 2. Reason number 3 why people don't sell is that they don't believe in the product that they're selling, which obviously leads to all kinds of issues.
If you're the person, and I think there was a story about this, about 2 sales people, both of them selling a stove. Now, one was just absolutely slaying it. It was fantastic. He didn't even have enough stock.
Right. He loved his stoves.
He loved his stoves, and the people loved to buy the stoves from him. On the other side, the other man who was selling the stoves, he wasn't selling any.
Right.
And when customers...
Because the other guy had sold them all. There's no stock.
Well, no, but there was plenty to go around. The thing about it is when the customers went to buy the stoves from him, there was no energy in there whatsoever, no passion, as well as when they went to look at the stove, he wasn't even using it.
Yeah.
How can you buy a product from someone who doesn't even use the product, who doesn't even
know how to turn it on? He wasn't getting fired up by stoves.
No, he wasn't getting fired up, getting that hot air of gas to lift him up and propel him to his dreams.
Wow, that was a deep metaphor.
I know, it
well
was.
done.
I'm surprised myself.
Yeah, dad jokes are a thing here. Just bear that in mind. So the guy who believed in the product, the guy who knew the product, which kind of goes well with believing in something. If you're going to believe something, make sure you know what it is. Know the details. So that's just a good rule across the board in life. A little bit of life coaching there for listeners.
Now, I know we're being slightly more negative, but this is why people don't people don't sell.
This will become more cheerful soon. But
Sure.
these are the reasons why people don't sell. And the 4th reason, which I think a lot of people either can relate to or they will relate to it soon if they're making progress, And that's naysayers. It's the people around you pressuring you, being negative, saying, "Oh no, that'll never work. Oh no one makes money doing that."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, life coaching. There's millions of life coaches in the. You should just give it.
You know what?
Stick with your
coach.
Yeah, a life coach. Well, so what did people do before Tony Robbins? Like for several thousand years before, though, there weren't life coaches then. What? You know, all the naysaying people say, and it's not just life coaches. It's in all kinds of industries. In fact, any time that you go to do something different, something you'll notice is that people around you, people who may very often have your best interests at heart, they advise against progress. And it's not that they're advising against progress in their head, they're advising against change, because change leads you into the unknown. Change is scary. I heard of this thing called tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah, you talked about this earlier.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I was reading an article in some gardening magazine. I'm from the countryside, so, you know, it reminds me of home.
Of course.
And it was talking about how these fields of poppies, you know, where they grow, I think they grow in Australia and in, obviously in certain areas of France, where all these poppies, they seem to grow to the same height, but that doesn't happen naturally. They don't just automatically do that. What happens is that over time, they grow to a certain height, and then there are dudes who drive along with, like, mowers, I guess, set at quite a high height. And so there will be certain poppies that grow taller than the rest, but as they get cut down, you know, to be uniform in height, the plants learn to only grow to a certain height. And so they all become trained to grow to the same level. And then that gets communicated around, and the field ends up growing all to the same height. And humans are very similar. Through environmental reasons, the people around us, we probably do it to the people around us as well. We try and keep them to a certain level.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes one of the hardest things to accept is that these people around us, they're our closest friends. Sometimes, and more often than not, it's our own family.
Yeah, it could be people we care about, people we love, people who love us, but there's this like little extra dimension where suddenly things get difficult and they start giving us grief or discouragement, when really, you know, if you're going into a new business venture or changing jobs or you're going down a different career path, what you need is support, what you need is encouragement, surely. And so in those moments of weakness, when you really need it the most, the support, what you sometimes get is the opposite, and that can be really difficult to deal with. So that's reason number 4 why people don't sell.
Of course, reason number 5 is very simple. You just don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know what you don't know. That's the main thing, really.
It's like blank slate. You could have all of the above lined up. Those problems could be non-existent for you, but sometimes just not knowing, just going, well, it's, you know, I feel positive, I think I've got good ideas, but I just don't know what the next steps are. Just don't know what to do. I don't know how to start up in business. And that in and of itself is something that, well, there are solutions to it,
of course,
but it can hinder a lot of people. So in the interest of becoming sales pros, how about we tackle these objections?
Yes, the first one was why people don't sell, and that is because of fear of rejection.
Right.
Now, what is the solution to that?
So a great way to get over the fear of rejection is to remember that it's actually not about you. You're not the one being rejected, especially in a sales environment. You're not, you know, if you're selling a stove, like the chap mentioned earlier, he's not being rejected, it's the stove being rejected. And that thing doesn't have feelings. It's not about your ego. It's not about your self-esteem. It's not about all these things, these messages that we think, oh, that means this thing about me and that I'm an unworthy human. That's all just a story. It's just not the actual truth of it.
And of course, the fear of rejection, again, we've already talked about how we all feel this rejection.
Yeah.
And if there's a way that we can actually reframe that in our minds and look at it from a different angle and see it as a challenge, because I remember I was talking to my nephew. He's adorable, actually.
Right.
And my nephew, he's around maybe like 6, 7. I think a lot of people with kids or that work with kids can relate
Or have
to.
been children.
Or have been children, exactly.
Almost everyone was.
And I remember the time when their baby teeth were falling out, literally
Yeah.
falling out of their mouths. and the adult teeth was growing in. I remember that my nephew was, very, he was hurting that day. It was a very painful experience, as we can all remember.
I remember having my teeth punched out. It was awful.
Punched out, yeah.
That's how it's meant to happen, right?
Of course. And I remember the mother saying this to him, and what she said was, the baby teeth, they serve its purpose. It was useful. There was a time and a place for when it was needed and required. And sometimes they just fall out. When we go through life, we need new tools and new techniques. And during that period, there might be a little bit of pain to go through. But with everything that we're trying to grow into, there's going to be something. And it may not come at the time that we expect it to. Sometimes it comes out unevenly. Sometimes it will be difficult. But every single time, it will all be even.
Wow. That was a profound thing for a 6-year-old. But yeah, no, the mum was right.
Absolutely.
I think you may have paraphrased and added, but it's true. It's very, very true because, we go through these phases in life. I often talk with one-on-one clients about how these ideas, these, the fears we have, the habits we have, the beliefs we have, it's very much like clothes. If I showed you a pair of little shoes that used to fit you when you were, 6 or 7 or 8, you look at them and you go, there's parts of your mind goes, oh yeah, I used to wear those shoes. They used to fit you. They used to be appropriate. They used to get the job done. But now, if you were to even try to put them on, they just wouldn't fit. It just wouldn't. It's not that they weren't right for you at the time. It's not that they didn't serve their purpose. It's just that you've outgrown them and now you need something new. You need something upgraded and better. And this is the same with ideas like they're going to reject me. Or ideas like if they do reject me, because sometimes people will reject you. That's a little secret thing. But the idea that matters. Because that's, people say, oh, well, what if I get turned down? What if someone rejects what I'm offering? Or, in the dating scene, it's very common, oh, what if he or she rejects me? The answer is, well, so what? It means they'd reject you. The line to use there is next.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually mean anything.
Maybe it's a you once called it a self-eliminating behaviour. You don't actually want to. They've probably done you a favour.
Yeah. If someone if someone doesn't want to buy from you, or doesn't want to spend time around you, or whatever the thing you're selling is, if they don't want to, you don't want to pull all the techniques and tricks out of the bag to persuade them to, because down the line, they already made the decision early on. If you find out that you're incompatible, that it's not a right fit for whatever reasons, forcing it is never a good thing. It's helping people. You want to sell to people who are self-selecting, in a sense. You want to. We'll move on to this in a later point, but sell to people who actually want what you're offering, because it's so much easier, and those people actually exist. And so these beliefs, these ideas, those people don't exist. These ideas, these beliefs that rejection actually matters and means something, it's just an idea. And ideas can be outgrown. But there are lots of ideas that you have, or lots of ideas that you had as a child. You were probably told as a child, don't leave the house, don't leave the garden without parents' permission, right? Most people were told that. And yet now, you're probably on the tube, driving, going somewhere, whatever. The last time you left the house, chances are you didn't ask your parents for permission.
Or better yet, a time when you're a child and your parents told you, don't talk to strangers.
Right.
Now, I'm pretty sure that everyone was a stranger, so at the job you currently are at now, I'm sure it may have been very difficult to be still working at that job.
Yeah.
If you did not talk to your colleagues who were strangers.
Right. And so the idea, don't talk to strangers. If you're a child, that's good advice. Right? Don't leave the house or don't leave the garden without parental permission. That's good advice for a child. But hey, guess what? It turns out that not everything that we think throughout our lives remains true forever. And so this can be just as true for ideas like rejection matters.
Now, number 2.
Yeah, I'm happy with number 1. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one, actually.
Number 2.
not wanting it enough. So, you're a lazy person.
So and so.
Yes, so and so, indeed. Now, the solution to that is you need to just do it.
Yeah.
You need to commit to a life worth living for.
Commit to a life worth living. I like that. Money, it comes and goes. You earn some, 1 minute the bank account goes up, then next minute, you spend it all and it's suddenly zero again, and then the next paycheck comes. Money comes and goes. It's replenishable. Time isn't. And, wasted days, years or decades just dilly-dallying, going this way and that way, being stuck in a rut, that will be your biggest regret. And it sounds kind of morbid, but it bears thinking about. We do not have an infinite amount of time here. Sooner or later, you'll be at the end of your life and you'll be looking back, and would be such a shame to look back and see wasted years.
I imagine that this is the whole point why you're even listening to this podcast
Exactly.
right now. The fact is that a lot of people right now are trading their time for money. And if you want to keep doing that, that's fine. But the real reason that, not wanting it enough, that's why people don't sell. If you don't want it enough, if you don't want that life that you have thought about day in, day out, where you almost want to just tear out your own hair, if you do not want it, then stop.
Fair. That's fair.
Just quit. Jonam's already talked about this kind of a morbid future if you decide not to take action. It is morbid because it is. That's the life you're going to lead.
Yeah.
Death
is a fact of life.
Sorry?
Death is a fact of life.
Exactly. So if you don't want it, then stop, quit, go back to your 9-to-5 job or your part-time, working full-time.
The daily grind.
The
hustle.
Of course.
It's such a popular word, isn't it? Yeah. It's true. Being able... The solution to not wanting it enough, I think, is just realising how much you've got to live for and how little time you have to live it in. And so... yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean going out being a millionaire, having a private jet. That isn't everyone's idea of success. That's not my idea of success.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, I am. But no, I'll just take a ride in yours. But just finding something to live for. Find something you're passionate about. Something that's worth selling to yourself. Because at the moment, living a life that you don't enjoy, as your body goes through these mechanical motions of the daily grind, while your mind is fantasizing about something better, why not make that something better the life that you're actually living?
You need to start being the person you want rather than just waiting for it. Don't wait.
Right.
Because if you keep on waiting, I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll do that next week.
When the kids grow up.
When the kids grow up, it's always going to be tomorrow.
Right.
It needs to be today.
Yeah. Be the person who you want to be now. That's a good one. So, solution number 3 to the issue of not believing in the product. So, how would you solve that? If you had a client, Miles, a private mentoring client who, they didn't quite believe in the product they were selling, what would you say to them?
I would say I look at your product as if it is a 5-star A-list celebrity.
Right.
Now, the product is the celebrity, and you are its biggest fan. Everywhere you go with the product, you'll sing its praises. You're so hyped up, amped up. It's pouring out. Every single feature, every single benefit, every single solution, and every single everything.
Yeah, everything that's so good. It's infectious, isn't it? It's the enthusiasm.
It's the enthusiasm. It's the energy that you can pour into your product, and with energy that attracts other like-minded people, the like-minded customers that it should be serving. You have to be a product of the product.
Yeah, especially if it's, a lot of people listening on entrepreneurs, coaches, personal trainers, people who are in a kind of helping profession, where you're helping people. The unfit personal trainer has no authority, basically.
Of course not.
And so, or the life coach whose life is in ruins has very little authority. And then this whole idea of, I've made all the mistakes, so I know what not to do, that it doesn't wash. We have to, and people actually, I've heard that reasoning.
I know,
before.
it's just...
Like, people have to be enthusiastic, and yeah, so the problem we said was that people don't believe in their products. And so, sometimes, let's say if you're a salesperson, you're working for someone else, I'd just like to explain a difference between belief and enthusiasm. So let's say let's go back to the example of the guy selling stoves. Maybe stoves aren't your life's passion, Maybe it's not something you wake up enthusiastic about. But if that's the case, there are many things to sell in the world, including yourself. Not like that, but like in terms of setting up your own business, there is something that you feel strongly about. There is something that you can do well, some skill set you have, or something that you can learn, that you enjoy doing, where you can add value to other people's lives that they find valuable, that is worth paying for. And so, while you search for that, you can still believe in the product that you currently have to sell. If it works, if it's ethical, if it's not harming people, then you can believe in it. You can believe in the features. You don't have to be some raving fan, but you can believe that it will truly help people. And again, going back to that point of, it's not about you. It's about serving the clients. It's about serving the people who you're helping. And so realizing that, this product may not be something you personally need in your life, but imagine the difference it can make for someone else. Think about the differences in their life. And that, if you've got any empathy, which we said before, is the number one trait of a sales professional. The best ones is empathy. So as you see the difference that your product or your service can make in the customer's life, then you can get excited about that. That's worth being excited about. And then that will be contagious. It will show and it will communicate to them why they should buy, which will then lead you down your path towards where you want to be as well.
And I think that leads us to number 4, the naysayers.
Tall poppy syndrome, negativity.
Being brought down by negativity. And now that's really interesting, actually, seeing as the solution to that is quite simple, really. And it's also it's simple, but it's not easy.
It's simple, but it's not easy. I'd say it's twofold as well. There's two sides to it. The first side is go thicker skin. This was written as the second one, but I like this one. Stop being a wuss. Go back to that. No, it's
no, but it is that exactly.
Growing thicker skin. Just realizing that, hey, the world isn't meant to just support you and just make you float along, and everything's going to be perfect and unchallenged. Do you know, like physically, it's challenge that makes us stronger. Physically, people go to the gym or they do various things. They put their body through various trials and tribulations. These, goodness knows how long marathons, and like some of them are insane length that people run, and they feel amazing about it. It's kind of like self-torture in a way. As someone who doesn't run marathons, I look at people and I'm like, man, that's like, you'd have to have a gun to my back to make me do that. But people love it, and it's the challenges, in the whole, deathbed scenario. When we look back in life, we're not going to remember the 5 years that we spent, laying on the couch, watching whatever TV we like. We're going to remember, wow, I overcame that challenge. It's the challenges that we remember as we overcome them, and it makes us stronger. That's where, we find a lot of our self-esteem. It's in the things that we manage to overcome. And so expecting things to be supportive of you, yeah, it's nice, and it is important to find that. But if it's not there, you can't just sit there and wallow in it and just go, oh, wow, the world's got to look after me. Just realising, hey, these are challenges, and as I overcome them, I'll get stronger. I've got the belief that, there is no punch that life can throw at me that I'm not able to deal with, that I can't roll with and recover from. That's kind of misquoting a Rocky thing, isn't it? I didn't realise, but pretend it's original because it's a good idea. And so realising that, you can grow thicker skin. If there are naysayers, imagine them eating their words. How awesome will that be? And it's not just about proving them wrong, it's about proving yourself right. Because it's nice to be right, isn't it?
Cool.
Admit it.
That just goes on to just being able to, have that thicker skin, having, a shorter memory, because first of all, you lead a much happier life.
Yeah.
And second of all, that you'll go even further than you can possibly imagine. When we say these are simple actions to take, they're not easy at times, because all well and good to change your environments.
Yeah.
It's also to change the people that you surround yourself with. So going back to the poppy metaphor, without any nutrients, goodness to it, if there's no light, then it will die. It will wither away.
Right.
And now some of these people, again, they may be close friends, some people that you've known since you were a child. They're your family, you're your own flesh and blood. And that's what can make this hard. But you have to ask yourself, whose life are you living?
Right.
Your family and your friends, or whoever these people that you're surrounding yourself with, I'm sure they have their best intentions for you. They're only trying to help you, and sometimes that help can be quite unhelpful.
Right. It's not that people mean ill, and it's not demonizing these people, or saying they're bad, or whatever. I think it's Tony Robbins, isn't he? He says, you love your family, choose your friends. Just because you went to school with people, or graduated college or uni with a certain group of people, if they're your true friends, then a true friendship has enough room in it for a bit of space. That's the way I see it. I believe that's true. Because if you change, and by the way, the